The history of 98-2 delegation. The gurus are wrong. You've probably heard the famous J. Willard Marriott quote, "Never do anything someone else can do for you." How about this one from Ronald Reagan? "Surround yourself with the best people you can find, delegate authority, and don't interfere." That's hogwash. That doesn't work in small business. I'm sure that if you've been in business for longer than 6 months, you've tried the Ronald Reagan approach. You walked down the hall, you gave the work to your best people, you delegated authority, and you didn't interfere. And we both know what happened next. The work didn't get done in a proper fashion or in a timely fashion. Basically, that delegation technique did not work. What's much closer to being an accurate quote is the Robert Half quote, "Delegation works provided the one doing the delegating works too." What Half is getting at is that there's a prerequisite to delegation, and it has far less to do with the person being delegated to and far more to do with the way and the process that you delegate. And process is the key word there. Most small business owners don't have a delegation process. And so what happens is they do exactly what Ronald Reagan says, and it doesn't work very well, and then they give up on delegating and effectively trap themselves in the time trap, that they run out of hours, and therefore they run out of the ability to grow their business. I'll tell you a true story from my past life. I had my company in the automotive business for 9 years. During that 9 years, I had 6 different assistants. I can assure you that my third assistant was by far the most talented. She probably had the most IQ points. She was the hardest working. She was the most professional. But she was not my best assistant. My best assistant was my last assistant, the 6th person, because what happened was each assistant got better in my mind. And you go, well, how could the quality of the person that was doing the work for me that I was delegating to, how could they continually get better? Was I that much better at selecting people? No. What was better was me. I got much better at delegating, and I got much better at turning them into a good delegee. Is much more important than the person that you're getting the work to. You just need a person of reasonable competence, reasonable effort, and if you become a good delegator and you do that through process, not by just pushing tasks, then you will find that you will have great people as well, and the Ronald Reagan quote will work once you learn a delegation process. In creating the 98-2 delegation system and studying successful entrepreneurial delegators, I think that there's a difference between entrepreneurial delegation and corporate delegation. And everything that you're going to read in books and articles is going to be on corporate delegation, and a lot of that does not fit for we entrepreneurs. But what you'll find is that the successful entrepreneurial delegators have given up on all or nothing, that all or nothing, and maybe we'll just call that abdication, is the enemy. And what that looks like is the Ronald Reagan quote. I take the pile of papers on my desk, I walk it down to the best person in my company down the hall who can be trusted and does have skill, and I basically say, you do it, I'm not going to do it. That never works because it's not a system, number one, and it's also all or nothing. I'm doing none of it, you're doing all of it. The successful entrepreneurial delegators have found that that process doesn't work, and so what they're going to do is not treat delegation like a game of hot potato where we pass it from one person to the other, but they're going to use the system that we call 98-2 to keep a little portion of the work. We call that the Picasso work, that only Picasso can touch the paintbrush to the canvas. There's a lot of work that Picasso doesn't have to do, but Picasso does have to be the one that touches the brush to the canvas. And you'll find, once you learn the 98-2 system, that the 2% is almost no work whatsoever, but just in getting over the all or nothing hump is what makes the system so powerful. Successful delegators do 3 things. The first thing they do is they do abandon the all or nothing mentality. I don't want to mess with this anymore. Usually we get fed up. I've had it up to here. I don't want to do it anymore. I just want somebody else to do it for me. Well, we're at a point of frustration there, and that process tends to not work. We need to use a process to delegate and a procedure. What they'll do, aside from using a process, ideally they'll use the 98-2 process, which has incorporated the systems used by successful entrepreneurial delegators, but you can certainly create your own. But if you will just get on a delegation system, you'll find far more success. And then we have found that the successful entrepreneurial delegators also analyze their own productivity. That's built into our process as well as a starting benchmark. But about every 6 months, every year at the latest, you want to take a look at your own productivity, and you want to ditch your low impact, low productivity work and trade that out for high impact work. Another finer point of delegators is that they realize that the way that you get on to the highest impact work is by getting rid of the low impact work first, not the other way around. It's very counterintuitive to be successful with this. What that means is that our inclination is to just push on the gas harder. I need to do more high impact work. I'm just going to try harder. I'm going to take that on. And that never works. We're all working at our maximum capacity if we're a typical entrepreneur. The only way to gain extra capacity is freeing up some of the low impact work. Here's the process that we have found leads to successful entrepreneurial delegation. And we call ours 98-2 delegation. It involves doing 3 things. The first is you want to analyze your current productivity, that we need to understand where the easiest areas to make you more productive and the easiest work to offload. Sometimes the propensity is to go to the highest impact work. I really need to get rid of this, but it may be the most difficult. What you'll find is that if you learn the process, the technique of delegation, that you will be able to delegate anything once you learn how to do it. So what we're trying to do is teach you a process of delegation, not just get rid of a specific task. That doesn't last you a lifetime. The 98-2 process lasts you a lifetime. Then we've created some proprietary tools that we are going to find your lowest impact work, and we call that the delegation grid. So by using the delegation grid, we're going to find your lowest impact work and the stuff that we should focus on getting rid of through the 98-2 process. And then we're going to show you the 98-2 framework and offload half of your work. Our goal is to have your work every 6 months, and you can continue to do that for the rest of your life. But certainly once you do that 2 or 3 times, what you're going to find is that your role as the CEO of your company is going to be significantly different than it is today, and you're going to be a far more valuable entity as a company, and you're going to be a far more valuable CEO once you learn what your Picasso work is.